So when World War One hit, however it came to pass, whoever brought it into being, and the evidence that the financial establishment was the mastermind behind all of this is the evidence is overwhelming, and we don't need to be squeamish about that. Whenever you have massive wars and massive conflicts, when the smoke is cleared, the assets and the money in the world are in the hands of a much smaller group of people, right? So this is
that's when you can fund both sides.
oh, especially when you can fund both sides. So this is what I think whatever salubrious and healthy effects the philosophical world was bringing into being, and there were many of them. The war just provided an ample opportunity for the scoundrels to position themselves to get everything. And here we are 100 years after the end of that war, and they're about to do it.
100%.
So,
do you feel like, and I want to get into that, and I encourage everybody to listen towards the end, because we're going to take this threefold Commonwealth plan and put it into the United States, the economic, political, and the cultural, spiritual side of things. Before we get fully into this, because you just said something I think is important, is scoundrels. Can you kind of give a quick overview of there being spiritual warfare? Like, this is not just that there are evil people and there's evil in the world, and then there's good. So when we look at this, and I kind of want to, if you could put yourself in Steiner's brain when he's making this with his spiritual perspective.
Yeah, and I'll use Steiner's ideas and not mine, so as to avoid any scandal here. But Steiner was fully aware that after 1879, I think we talked about this in the past shows, when a war in heaven resulted in the casting down of the fallen angels to earth, and Steiner wrote about this heavily during World War I. Right, the fall of the dark spirits and so you got the fall of evil spirits coming into the earthly realm. And so with that, in the 1880s and 90s in particular, occultism was rampant in Europe, especially among the elites. So all these people were getting involved in seances, and it doesn't matter where you go, with Southern California or the elites in Vienna and Berlin and England, they were all there. And having abandoned religion, they were all trying to figure out this mutually productive project of gaining more money and then using all of their wealth to somehow imagine that they were gods or something. And this is a real potent impulse in the last decades of the 19th century. And so yes, there were people, what Steiner calls them the left-handed path, the left-handed groups who were actively conducting seances and actively conducting what you might call communications with the dead in such a way. And this is what a lot of the political assassinations, which really ramped up at the end of the 19th century, were attempts to sort of commandeer, this sounds really crazy, but an attempt to commandeer the etheric body of a fallen head of state or something as they're transitioning into the next life, and to actually use them, to deploy them to bring about material changes down on this earthly realm. Now, and Steiner wrote a really interesting poem prayer to the fallen in World War One. As you mentioned, millions and millions and millions of guys who were killed as this war, and part of World War One, as above, so below, right? That these fallen souls are also being enlisted into a massive spiritual battle. And which comes first, the chicken or the egg, is really hard to determine. But there was an active and prodigious occultism taking place, and then as now.
That's what I was fixing to say. We're seeing the same thing play out now.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if there's a spiritual war gearing up, or if there's like another, Michael type thing happening. But I do know that this seems to be kind of the same scenario.
Yeah.
Because we with the worship of AI, with the worship of science as it was back then, and then also there seems to be these weird occultic practices that are popping up again amongst the elite.
Well, absolutely, and we're afraid to talk about this, I guess, because the media is more or less owned and operated by them. And it used
Hmm.
to be that the media had a hands-off approach to the wealthy and powerful. Now they are the wealthy and powerful.
Yes.
So, and so what's so scary about this is, as we wake up to these realities, the natural collective reaction should be revulsion, and we
Hmm.
need to stop this now. And instead, it's like, how can I get in on the game? It's horrifying.
Yeah,
But
you can see it even to the point of what's happening now with whether it's Ukraine and Russia, or whether it's Hamas and Gaza and Israel and all that. All of this is just huge distractions, but
well,
it's at the sake of human lives.
they're distractions and they're also tactics, because
Yes, hundred
one
percent.
thing about these people is they feed on
Mm-hmm.
mayhem and misery and karmic disturbances. This is their nutriment. The fear and the horror. I mean, you want to talk about adrenochrome and all this stuff. This isn't all a joke. This
Right.
is this is the real thing. And so when they can create mass havoc, they don't care who wins or loses. They like the mass havoc because they win. I mean, and I don't see how anybody can really, you know, deny this anymore. If you don't see that the world is being controlled by a small group of very powerful people, then you just suffer from an inability to process information. You're not a better person because you don't indulge in conspiracy theories. You're not looking at the world. And so all the stuff we're looking at, Steiner and Mark, this goes back a long, long time. But we've just got what we call the normalcy bias, where we just don't want to deal with this, and we want to pretend that elections matter and that our pop culture speaks for the people, and none of this is true.
Yeah, in Egypt, you had that god priest like, elitist, where they were untouchable, and that's, I think, the goal. I think that's where they want to be at.